Hey guys, what's up? Really, really excited. It's that time of the year again. I get to do another Location Rebel case study. And this is one I've been waiting for 3 years to be able to do. It's with my good friend Colin Pomeroy. And Colin joined Location Rebel way back in 2012. And he's had quite the journey over the last couple of years, but he's finally made a bunch of progress here over the last 6 months. And we're going to talk all about the story and, how he got from where he was to where he is now. But first, let's just say thank you, Colin. I appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Yeah, no problem, man. Glad to do it.
So let's fast forward a little bit. 3 years ago, what were you feeling? You were, working as a bartender. I know you weren't necessarily super stoked on that, but it also wasn't terrible either. Tell me a little bit about what you were feeling when you first joined Location Rebel.
Yeah, I was bartending, and bartending is a great job. It's very social. It doesn't require a lot of hours. You don't take your work home with you. However, I just felt this void of what the point of my career was, or what I was doing with my life. And every time I went into work, I had fun, but I just felt like in the background there was nothing else going on. I had no direction. So I joined Location Rebel hoping to, I knew I wanted to travel and I wanted to kind of grow a business. And so that's what piqued my initial interest.
Totally. And it seemed like, I've known you for 3 years now, and it seems like it was getting harder and harder to leave after a while, because I know there would be, hey, we want you to be a bar manager. We'd like you to take more hours on or take more responsibility. Has that been a struggle at all? It's like, even as you've had more success working as a bartender, has that made it harder to actually make the leap into the stuff that you want to be doing for the long term?
Oh, absolutely, man. Like, as I got more interested in craft cocktails and stuff, I got hired at better and better places. And then before long, I was at I've been at really pretty well-known bars in Portland, and the money's been great, and it's been kind of a draw to stay. It makes it that much harder to leave, because I think to myself, do I really want to leave this great gig that actually does have some potential to perhaps grow bartending into a career?
Yeah, for sure. So, okay, so let's talk about this. So you knew you wanted to travel. You had a good thing going, but you weren't totally fulfilled doing it. You joined Location Rebel, and I know when you first started, you were kind of dead set on doing your own thing. You're like, I'm going to join this. I want to be location independent, but I kind of want to do it my way. Like, I know you were really into video blogging. You were really into wanting to do video editing. You really wanted to do video, and you kind of said, I'm going to ignore everything else and just focus on that. Tell me a little bit about the first year or two and how that approach worked out for you.
Yeah, I kind of just was very focused on, I was so set on doing something that I loved. I figured that if I was going to spend all my time working, it was going to have to be doing something I loved, and there was no other option. So video blogging and video editing was the category that I focused on. And I was pretty much unwilling to look at anything else. And I just dove into video editing and kind of was blindly going at it and doing it, and hoping that everything would sort of work out in the background rather than actually focusing on what I wanted my whole life to look like.
Yeah, and it seems like you were kind of you were really into the editing side of things, but you never fully embraced the marketing side of things. You never really had a system for how to find clients and actually how to make a business out of it. Do you think that was true a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely, I didn't really even talk to any other editors, and I would find work just by whatever came to me. I didn't really market myself or put myself in any sort of or brand myself of what kind of video editing I did. So it would just be any projects that got thrown at me, I would just start working on them indefinitely, and it made for a very chaotic experience. There was my most recent one. I didn't sign a contract or anything, and I spent 30 hours of work on it, and then the guy, who actually was a guy I knew from high school, disappeared, and I have not talked to him since, and this was almost a year ago.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
so you're thinking maybe I finally made some traction here, and then this guy you thought was legit just disappears and get paid.
It was kind of left a bad taste in my mouth.
Totally. And so is it safe to say that over the first couple years you were a part of Location Rebel, but you weren't really a part of it? You kind of said, you know what, I'm going to do this, and that was kind of your initial, goal to go down this path, but you kind of said, you know what, this is my catalyst, but I'm going to try it my way and see how it works out. Do you think that was true a little bit? Or?
Yeah, that was pretty true. I remember being becoming a member was my first step, and then I made a decision to walk down the video editing path and kind of utilize some of the Location Rebel community, maybe to supplement it, to like ask travel questions, but more than that, just kind of do it my own way.
Totally. So now let's fast forward to about 6 months ago. I still remember this. I was sitting at your bar and you're like, Sean, I've made a decision. I am ready to commit to the Location Rebel program. It's like, I've been doing all of this and it's been not really working out, but I know that if I don't, start pursuing my goals, if I don't start traveling soon, I'm never going to do it. So I'm ready. I'm going to commit to what you're doing. And so tell me about what's happened since you made that commitment. This was probably like back in January or February.
I went back to square one, and I just threw out everything I knew and went back to the basics and kind of started over. There was part of me that, because I'd been a member for so long, I wasn't willing to start over, but that's what I did. Is I went through and I said, okay, which of these skills that Location Rebel offers can I do and can I learn quickly? And then I went through them, and I started out in copywriting, and then actually what led me to find SEO writing, which I just started working on consistently. I basically just followed exactly what the program said rather than trying to do it my own way. And I started getting I started getting success within the first month of starting to go through that program. I started to get the ball rolling much faster and more efficiently than I ever did with video editing.
Well, and I remember like that first month, I remember how stoked you were when you got your first client. And then I also remember you saying like, yeah, I've been making about 97 cents an hour for the last couple of weeks. Yeah. But it feels good because I'm actually building the skill set and I feel like I'm going through the process. So do you think that even though when you first kind of committed for that first month or two, when you weren't making a ton of money, was that worth going through it to get to where you're at now?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, that was how I got to where I am. I wouldn't have been able to do it without that trial period of earning a tiny bit of money. And I actually did it through the forums, which was the Location Rebel forums. I just posted that I needed help. I didn't really know where to start. And actually there's overwhelming support of people giving me resources. And then one person reached out and said, hey, I have, I can pay you like basically nothing, but I can still give you work. And it was a huge resource to build my confidence, and I could ask her questions about feedback on my work, and she would tell me what she would change differently, because she was a fellow Location Rebel, so she was helping me out and kind of coaching me at the same time.
So it sounds like that was kind of a situation where she had some work, she had a bunch of success, and now she's like, okay, I've got a lot of work. I'm going to try outsourcing it and, hand it over to you, which kind of worked out both ways because you got a little bit of a mentor, you got some work, and even though you weren't making a ton of money, you were getting that experience, which ended up leading to some more regular paying jobs. So now you've actually got some regular clients, right? So tell me a little bit about, kind of what happened over the last, 3 months and the work that you're doing now.
So I got my first client, and it was right around that period when I started making consistent money on the side, and while I was still able to keep my job. So and then I also had a friend of mine who announced, he kind of sent me an email announcing that he was getting married in Paris in September. So I sort of made that my mission. I was like, I'm going to build up my business enough so that I can take off, and that's going to be that's my goal. So I gave myself like 9 months or 8 months or something, whatever it was, and said I'm going to build my business enough so I'm making consistent money and we'll be able to travel kind of on a one-way ticket.
Yeah. And so we're doing this in July. You just bought your one-way ticket a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to be leaving. I mean, now you're committed. You've got it.
Yeah.
And so, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, part of the process of that was, I utilized the forums quite a bit, which is a big part of Location Rebel.
Yeah.
And that's where I got, anytime I had a question, once I made that commitment, I set my goal and then kind of threw my hat over the fence. And anytime I had a question or a roadblock, I had this whole community that would support me on any questions I had, any resources, and it felt like I wasn't doing it alone, which is what the big issue with video editing was I just, anytime I hit a roadblock, I would basically give up for a while because I didn't know how to handle it. And with the Location Rebel community, anytime I hit a roadblock, it was like within an hour I'd have a response or support, and I'd know how to move through that roadblock. So that's really what helped me build up my business enough to make, now I have a consistent income that's coming in through my business, and I'm able to make that travel plans.
Yeah,
and
so you've got this consistent business that you're going to be able to run from the road.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, and I was just going to say, and I continue having questions about whether it's about business or traveling. I'm like, I have a question about taxes and traveling. Like, how does this work? And what kind of shots do I need before I go to Thailand? Things like that.
Yeah.
So it's been a huge resource.
One of the big things I found is that it really, and I want to know if you agree with this, it's not necessarily about building a business around the thing you're passionate about. It's about building a business that enables you to do the things you're passionate about. So for instance, now you've got a freelance writing business, which, maybe isn't like the be all end all. It's not the thing you want to be doing forever, but it's enabling you to be able to travel, and it's enabling you to be able to go shoot a travel video blog and edit that and do all those things you enjoy doing. Do you think that that's a reasonable way to build a business? Like, has that worked out in your case, or do you think that people should start the passion-based business first? I mean, tell me a little bit about your experience with that.
Well, during the time when I switched from going video editing to like doing a passionate thing to doing something that would lead to a lifestyle change, I also started changing my mindset about what my goals were, and I started focusing on. I remembered actually your ideal day exercise.
Yeah.
So it took me back to that, and I basically looked at what was going to be the fastest way to get me to my ideal day, and the SEO writing, or the Location Rebel business blueprints, was basically what got me down, what would set up that lifestyle a lot quicker. And so now the way I see it is that I have the freedom to do the work when I want to do it. So let's say I do everything in the beginning of the week to free up my time to, let's spend the last 5 days.
Go travel around the Thai islands over the long weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a lot more freedom, and I would absolutely do this rather than grinding on something I'm passionate about for years and years, hoping that my lifestyle also aligned with that passionate work.
Totally. So you joined 3 years ago. You kind of tried your own thing. It didn't really work. 8-9 months ago, you committed to the program. You found the forums to be hugely beneficial. And this is just kind of a quick recap. Now you're getting ready. In 2 months, you're taking off. You're starting a world trip. Going to Paris for your buddy's wedding. Then going to basically like beeline it to Southeast Asia, right? Where it's a little bit cheaper. You can travel around a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Like, I think that's one of the coolest stories, and that's why I was so excited to finally be able to do this, because we've been talking for years, and I've seen your struggles. It's like, I'm trying to do this, and every time I'm like, dude, you got to follow the program. Like, I know it might not, it's kind of daunting at first. It might not seem like the most fun thing to do, but follow the program, and I promise you, you're going to have some success. But with that said, like, there's a lot of people that are watching this that they're kind of thinking, it's like, all right, is this for me? Do I want to, take the leap right now? Because $497, like, it's a significant investment. It's not cheap. So for that person that's on the fence or think about maybe joining, like, what's one piece of advice you would give them right now, or what's something you would tell them?
Well, I would say if you want to travel and you want to take a leap and do something that's completely different than what most of your friends and family and how they're living, if you're willing to do that, then absolutely make the purchase, because this program will give you every support system and every structure that you need to actually make that a reality.
Do you think that you would be where you're at getting ready to go travel? Do you think you'd be there if you hadn't have joined?
No, there's no way, unless I found some other resource that's exactly like this. The thing that made a huge difference was actually talking to so many people on the community that live a lifestyle like this. Like, this is common way of living, and it really got me out of that mindset, and it showed me a path that I never would have thought that I'd be a writer. That was the last thing on earth I thought my career would look like. And it's so cool because it's something I can do, and it gives me the freedom to be able to set my own schedule and travel to the places I want to go.
And I think what's cool is that you've got the writing bringing in the income, but then it's also as you know start building up that income and building up that business, it's going to give you the free time to be able to pursue the video stuff and kind of really take it to, we kind of talk about the 3-step program: build the relevant skill set, freelance one of those skills to build up your income and your confidence, and then apply it to all the sexy passive stuff and the passion projects and all that. So, you're kind of working your way through step 2, and there's no doubt that especially as you're traveling around and you want to start shooting more video and editing more video and doing the blogs, that you're going to be going to all of these amazing places and having really cool opportunities to do that. So I think it's just been really cool because everyone thinks, I'm going to join and immediately it's all going to be sunshine and rainbows, but that's not always the case. I mean, you do have to make a commitment to yourself, make a commitment to the program, and do the stuff that may not always be super sexy at first, may not be the fun stuff, but it's kind of the stuff that works. So, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to do this. I'm also really, really excited. I'm going to try and find a way to get over to Southeast Asia when you're there so we can,
awesome.
Celebrate over some Singa beers or something like that in Bangkok. But is there anything else, last minute thoughts or anything else you want to say to people that are watching this right now?
I was just something that came to mind when you were talking about the 3-step processes. I've already actually been able to experiment with outsourcing some of my work to free up my time already.
Yeah.
So I've already had a failure experience with that, and I've already had like a couple successes too. So that just to see that potential of how it's going from self-employed to actually business owner, where I'm outsourcing some of my own work to free up my time even more, is just such an exciting possibility that I always envisioned that being so much farther down the road than actually currently right now. So that's a really exciting point that I'm getting to as well.
Totally. Well, I can't tell you how excited I am. I mean, you're taking off in less than 2 months now. I don't mean that to scare you, but I know you definitely a little nervous, but you've got a great thing going, and I just can't thank you enough for being part of the program, taking the time to share your thoughts here today, and I can't wait to see all the photos of you behind your laptop traveling around the world.
Yeah, me neither, man. Well, thank you, Sean. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, man.